Hey, coming back at y'all with another episode of the Emmaus proposition. Man, I hope y'all doing good. I hope everything's going right in your life. I hope that God is making himself manifest in a way that's just crazy and out of this world. And you're filled with joy and hope. And man, I pray that for all God's people, man. I hope y'all doing well. Um, I'm doing okay. I know, so I've had some folks reaching out to me asking if I'm all right. I'm all right, man. God has been good. I can't complain at all. You know what I mean? Yeah, could some stuff be different? Absolutely. Is God still big in my life? Do I still believe in Jesus? Absolutely, man. This is the only hope I have in this life or the next is through the atoning work of Christ. Um, I'm angry. I'm angry about some stuff, and I'm riled up. So some people get me when I'm feisty. Um, but nah, it's all good, and I love y'all. Hope y'all doing well. Um, and to the glory of God, man, things will be okay. Things will be okay, man. And even if they're not okay, um, in the immediate, man, when Jesus comes back, he's gonna make everything okay. So um, it's all good, and it's all good. And to the glory of God, it's going to get better one way or another. Some folks might be watching this on YouTube. Number one, thank y'all, man. Thank y'all for the support. Um, it's crazy and it's fun, and it's because of y'all support I can keep doing it. Y'all see, for those watching on video, I'm outside. I had to get out of the office, man, just to take in some fresh air. That's today's sponsor. Today's sponsor, fresh air, is free, and they ain't giving away no money. But no, man, I had to get out of the office and just kind of find a nice spot. It won't probably necessarily be quiet, but it's a good spot. For those of y'all that are listening on the podcast, man, um, thank y'all so much, man. Thank y'all for the love and support. I have folks that'll text me, be like, "Yo, I caught your latest episode. Good job. Keep it rolling." And that kind of stuff helps me keep going, man. Because what we want to do, we want to take all of life. Honestly, we want to take all of life, regardless of what it is, regardless of the topic, whatever the subject, we want to point it all back to Christ. And I feel like there's a lot of folks, even for me, for a big chunk of my life, I didn't think that way. But not only do I want to think that way, I want to encourage other people to think that way too, man. I think the world is coming to the place where, especially America, man, we're coming to a place where we're becoming less and less. Um, Man, we got less and less morals and values. One, but even within that, going beyond that, it's less and less that we're believing in Christ. And even people that would call themselves Christians are really only Christians on Sundays when it's convenient, or in their Bible study group, or around their Christian friends. Other than that, they're just living life as if Christ is not supreme and he's not the king. They live as if Christ is some kind of elected official, like he's giving people democratic rights. God is a king; he demands allegiance, and that means everything we do has to be for the sake of the king. So I want to encourage folks how to do that. I want to keep doing that myself. This platform helps me do that because I'm constantly thinking about and talking about Jesus in all kind of different ways and avenues, right? And so for today's episode, y'all see from the title and description, I actually want to talk about this movie that me and my wife watched last night. We are we're pretty particular in the type of movies we watch. Like we don't watch a lot of dramas. We don't watch a lot of like the CSIs, and we don't watch a lot of horror films. We don't do a lot of that stuff. But we have we're really sci-fi people, man. Like, and so all the Marvel stuff, Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. Like we really, that's when we sit down and we relax and we get enjoyment out of watching TV. It's usually some kind of sci-fi movie, right? And so last night we put the kids down, said goodnight, Went back upstairs, put the kids down again, threatened them a couple times, and then we sat down to relax, and we turned on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And so, obvious spoiler alerts, right? It was a pretty decent movie. Um, it wasn't like a typical Marvel movie. It's not like there was a lot of. I feel like Marvel up to this point, they did a lot of like storytelling. Like it was a lot of like compelling characters, like where you really got into who they were, how they grew up, what their morals and values were. Like they really did a good job of developing the character, right? And in this movie, um, it's kind of it was called the multiverse of madness for a reason. Like it was just crazy. It was complete pandemonium. Like it was from start to finish. Like you were just in a head trip trying to figure out what was going on. My wife was like, "Yeah, this is kind of like Inception a little bit," but it was like Inception on crack a little bit. Like there was a there was a bunch of stuff where they were jumping through different multiverses, and like this universe is different than this one, and there was like a paint universe, and there was like a pixel universe. Like it was almost as if the creators and directors, like they were like, what can we just kind of splatter up on the screen and see what happens? Like it was just there was almost no rhyme or reason, and so the name, the title was fitting. Like it was the multiverse of madness. Like it was all over the place, right? And so that part was okay. I mean, it didn't take away because I like you kind of understood like why they were doing what they're doing. It was just kind of crazy. And of course, it's Disney, so you got to throw in your little bit of propaganda um, for certain communities in there, and that was like whatever. And then um, oh man, there was this mind trip where um, the villain of the story is actually a former hero. So that part of it added some complexity, right? Because typically in these movies, the heroes are the heroes. Like it's very clearly defined who are the heroes and who are the villains. In this movie, they got really sophisticated, right? And they took the love of a mother and they used that to drive her into this into essentially into becoming a villain. So it took Wanda, who was, if you watched WandaVision, the TV show, um, she she was a witch that lost her husband. She creates this whole reality for herself, and in the midst of that reality, she has a whole family. Like they have kids and everything, right? And in the show, she ends up having to shut down that reality because it was actually hurting people. But because she shut down that reality, she also lost her kids. And so this movie picks it up and it turns her into a villain because she actually wants her children back. So she had fallen in love with this reality, and now she was like, "Well, I don't want to let that reality go. I need to get it back, and I'll go to any lengths. I don't care what happens. I'm getting my kids back." And like it gave me like pause because I'm like, "Oh man!" Like we'll say often how we'll do absolutely anything for our children, right? And man, they took that thought and kind of put it into, if you had access to alter your reality for the sake of your children, would you do it? And man, that's where it was like really enjoyable because like me and my wife were sitting there like, but man, she's just trying to get her kids back, but it drove her bonkers at the same time. So it was really good, really sophisticated in that way because it lent to a good conversation. Like, um, man, the nature of evil, like who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, um, what does it mean to sacrifice for others? What does it mean that you want something so bad, but you're willing to hurt other people to achieve it? All those kind of conversations are in there. So for that, it was a really good movie. Um, Visually, it was really good. There was some some CGI stuff in there, some makeup stuff where we were like, yeah, that's kind of janky. But it was good, man. It was good. Y'all should check it out. I say that being a Marvel fan, but it's good. I think you could get into it and still enjoy it. Still lightweight enjoy it. But there was a part in the movie where it really gave me pause, and it was just one little line in the middle of the movie. It's not like it made any kind of impact or anything like that. It just hit me in a way where I was like, oh man, like that actually has some pretty major implications on what she said. And so Wanda, she is, um, you go into the villain dialogue, right, where the director has to explain the villain's motives, and so she's doing her villain dialogue, and she says this line, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but essentially what she says is, um, the multiverse has a fix for everything. And I thought about that. I'm like, one, like if you're not familiar with the multiverse, I'm not like a scientist on it or anything, but right, but it's like this scientific thought that the universe is, if we're on like a string theory, like if reality is on a string, um, each decision we make has the potential to splinter off into different realities. So if I choose to take this left route to work as opposed to the right, um, that actually has um, implications, because if I go right, then I run into this person that I hadn't seen in 20 years. We end up sparking up a relationship. I get married, have kids, and da 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 da. Right? If I go left, that has a whole different set of implications behind um, what can happen. And so the multiverse says that there's almost every decision has the potential to go off in all these different directions. And so in the multitude of madness, like they jump to these other realities. So like each reality has its own version of you, and they're like, well, if you ever have a dream about yourself, that's actually you tapping into one of the other alternatives of yourself in the multiverse. So they're exploring that, right? And Wanda says there is a solution to every problem somewhere out in the universe. Every problem has been solved somewhere out in the multiverse. If you have cancer, some other multiverse has solved cancer. If there's a if you lose your child, somewhere out in the multiverse you didn't lose your child, and so you can actually, from the abilities of Wanda in this movie, she could tap into those other multiverses by manipulating magic spells and stuff like that, right? And really, what that hit me with was there's like a subliminal anti God worldview that underlines that. So essentially, as a Christian, we believe that God controls everything. God controls everything about the universe. All things are made from Him, through Him, and to Him. There's nothing in all of creation that God is not in control of. And so I would say, as a Christian, even if there was a multiverse, that God is still in control of the entire multiverse. Like he knows not only the things that actually happen, but all the potential things that could happen within the same brain space. God is just magnificent that way, right? And so, but what it does was, it was actually essentially saying, like, the universe has a way to heal people that no other force in creation can do. And so it was like, it kind of flabbergasted me a little bit. Not really, because the world is looking for any excuse not to put their faith and trust in God. So it's not like a huge surprise that Disney would push something like this. But the undercoverness of it, the way that it's kind of just secretly, like, pushed up under a person's radar, because that's a tool of Satan, right? The tool of Satan is to say, I'm gonna one of the tools of Satan. I'm gonna provide you with this entertainment and all this stuff, and as you're being entertained by something, I'm actually gonna slip my hook into you, and I'm gonna just wait until the time is right. I'm not gonna pull the hook right away where you see it coming. I'm gonna wait till the time is just perfect. And so it's sneaky like that. Like it kind of it was just kind of a throwaway line, but I just kind of I was hip to like, oh, this is actually saying that not that God is in control, but actually that like almost in a sense Wanda and Doctor Strange are in control. They're the ones that are able to manipulate all of these different realities. And actually, in a couple different shows, they have this guy called the Watcher or Overseer or something like that, and he's actually overseeing and has, though he tries not to, he has the potential to manipulate these other multiverses in a way that's favorable for whatever purpose he wants to use it for, right? But my thought, and here's my proposition. Here's what I'm proposing because it actually it's actually it should change the way that we watch a lot of these movies. The entertainment industry does not want you to have a lasting and trusting faith in Christ. If you look across the spectrum of movies, the movies that are the most God glorifying, that that have a positive message embedded within them, that actually that's the purpose of the movie. Um, they're not the ones that get all of the like the multi-million-dollar budgets. Um, they're not the ones that get nominated for awards and stuff like that. It's actually the movies that are the most anti-God that get the most clout. Um, and so a movie like this, even though it's entertainment, I don't think this movie is going to win any awards or anything like that. But what it does is it takes something that is familiar and is loved by people, and it silently inserts a different worldview, a different ideology in the midst of the movie, so that over time, this is not an immediate thing. Over time, you begin to trust less and less in God, and so by the time, like our kids are going to grow up, they're going to go off to college, having watched all these movies previous to this, and they're going to get to their physics class, and instead of going to the physics class and saying, um, yeah, my God is in control of all things. They're going to go to physics class and they're going to be introduced to something like string theory, or some of these other like physics theories about the nature of the universe. They're not primarily going to think about God. They're going to think about whatever Hollywood has supplanted in their thoughts, um, and they're gonna think back to when, oh snap, so the multiverse is actually, it can be controlled and manipulated. And if I study witchcraft, or if I do sorcery, or if I can get the elemental chakras lined up just right, I can actually manipulate reality too. And I know a lot of people will say, man, I think you're taking that too far. Um, but that's kind of the up and coming religious thought right now. So New Ageism says that you have the power to manipulate your reality. So you can speak things into existence. And so and even some Christian churches have been co-opted by New Age theology. They say that you can speak wealth into existence, or you can speak healing into existence. This is not stuff that is on the horizon for us anymore. It's actually like it's living among us, and it's actually growing, like right now, right to this day. And so for us to not recognize when it's silently being pushed into different entertainment spheres, so it's being pushed into movies, it's being pushed into the music we listen to, it's being pushed out into the books we read, all these different areas of life it's being pushed out into, and we don't recognize the fact that it's there, and it's right amongst us, and it's actually influencing how we think about the world, if and especially if we're not grounded in Christ. If we're not grounded in Christ, then all this stuff sneaks up under our radar, and it can influence us. Christ tried to warn us of those things, right? Christ told us that there was a force that was at work in this world, the prince of the power of the air, the the sons of disobedience are already at work. They're already in the world. They've already gone out. They're already causing havoc. All this stuff like that. That was already a warning from Christ. And so for us to think that these things aren't at play, that Satan is not manipulating us away from our relationship with Christ, man, we'd be fooling ourselves. And honestly, a lot of us are fooling ourselves. The movies, not to say that we can't watch movies and stuff like that, right? Like I love watching sci-fi movies. I love watching the Marvel movies. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be able to watch the Marvel movies, man. Like Disney is actually, it's taking all the stuff that I love and it's systematically dismantling them. Like I'm not happy with the direction that Disney is going um, with Star Wars or with Marvel. But Disney has they own both, so they're taking it wherever they want to take it, regardless of what I have to say about it. Matter of fact, I'm gonna write a letter. I'm joking. I'm not gonna write a letter. But here's the thing. So if my proposition is correct, right? If there is an intentional set motive behind Hollywood uh, limiting the influence of God in its movies, like if they're doing it intentionally, um, then a few things has to happen, right? One, we got to get closer to God. Like we gotta be able to recognize the enemy's tactics and be able to maneuver in a way that actually glorifies God in the midst. Like I said, it's not that we can't enjoy entertainment. That's not what I'm saying at all. But if we don't recognize that there might be some bad stuff that's in the stuff that we're ingesting, uh, if eventually we're going to succumb to its poison. So it's kind of like going to Burger King and not really realizing that they put anchovies on your burger. And over time, you're like, I actually don't like anchovies, and I've been eating anchovies this whole time. Like I feel disgusting now. Like is that's kind of the way. Like the stuff that we enjoy is actually being like secretly um, it's secretly has like this subliminal messaging in it. And for Doctor Strange and the Multitude of Madness, it was God's not in control of the multiverse. If there is such thing as a multiverse, actually, who's in control of it is people. People can manipulate the multiverse. It's it's the love of a parent that can manipulate a multiverse. And aren't you justified in your grief to do whatever? Is there any lengths you wouldn't go to get your children back? No, there is no grief like the grief of a parent, and she's justified in bending reality so that she can get her children back. That without Christ, we hear that messaging and we just say, yeah, like we're supposed to love our kids, kind of thing. And the Bible comes along and says, no, don't put any other gods before me. This is one of those things that I think Jesus was explaining on the road to Emmaus. When God said, don't have any other gods before me, man, he means nothing. Have nothing before me. God is a jealous God. Joshua told the people that when he was, as they were establishing the land. He said, God is a jealous God. He's not going to tolerate any other gods before him. You have to worship him only. And the world comes along, he says, no, you should love your identity more than you love God. You should love your children more than you love God. You should love money more than you love God. You should love your sexual partner more than you love God. You should put all these other things as priority because God, like maybe he's there, but he's not in our day to day life. Like he's not ruling like as a king. That's what the world would say, and the Bible says, no, God is ruling as a king. God will have no other gods before him. He's in control of all things, including your concept of whatever physics are out in the universe, whether it's string theory or multiverse theory or whatever have you. God is in control of it all, and he demands allegiance. He says every knee will bow, whether whether that's in reverence to the king or whether it's submission to the king, every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess that Christ is Lord. When Jesus died on the cross, right? And he resurrected and he goes back in the throne room of God. And I think it's Psalm 110 that describes Jesus going back into the throne room of God, right? And God says to Jesus, "Sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool." It's essentially like God is subjugating all of creation so that he could give it to Christ to rule and reign. That's the God we serve. Jesus didn't die so that we can look at string theory and say that we can manipulate our own reality. That's not why Christ died on the cross. Christ didn't resurrect from the grave so that we can control and manipulate other multiverses for our own benefit and glory. Christ died. Christ rose again so that he could have rule and reign over absolutely everything. That's what I think the walk to Emmaus, that's one of the things I think Christ was explaining. Man, I own all this, is what Jesus was saying. There's nothing that I don't own. Everything belongs to me. Everything is from me, through me, and to me. I have to have it all because I'm the king. And man, the more I watch movies and the more I see it in media that if something is not giving uh, credence to our king, the more it's giving credence to something else. And usually, what Hollywood is saying, and it's the great lie of the devil, that you too can be God. You could be just like God. Satan's way of getting um, equality with God for himself is to fool us into believing that we have equality with God. That's his little sick scheme that he has. And the worst thing we can do is continue to live into those lies. Um, Even if they're coming to us from an entertainment standpoint, it's the worst thing we could do to say, yeah, that's the way reality should work. Or even worse, man, to not see it at all. I think that's even worse. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. As much as I hate what Disney is doing to Marvel, I'll probably still go and watch because I just want to see how it turns out. And until they provide us something different, or some other comic book company comes out and is a good competition, uh, they got us handcuffed right now, unfortunately. But man, that's my episode for today. Thank y'all for listening in on my rant. Um, it's cool though because just being able to see the schemes of the devil and call it out for what it is, and then be able to give glory to Christ in the midst of it. Man, what else can we do as Christ followers? That's who we are. And so I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. Um, Man, if there was a lot of skips and pauses in this video, I so apologize. I thought this was going to be a good spot, and traffic has been like going by and people talking and they being all super loud. So, but I enjoy being out here in the breeze. I enjoy listening to the birds and everything. So I'm gonna try to find different stuff like that. But man, y'all keep tuning in. Keep showing your love. I appreciate y'all. If y'all on YouTube, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. If you're over on Spotify or Apple or Google or wherever you listen on podcasts, man, thanks for the love, man. Keep telling folks about it. Keep sharing the link with folks, and we'll keep this thing going. But yo, until next time, I love y'all. Hope y'all doing well. Hit me up if you need me. Until next time, grace and peace.